What are you saying? Hope you guys are doing well. So here is my example of the float technique.
Can you meet me outside, baby? I put my spaceship outside, baby. Don't care about the mileage, just care about your life. Can you meet me outside, baby? I put my spaceship outside, baby.
Here McKinnon has done a similar tutorial, but I was inspired by Justin Escalona. Disclaimer, I am not a professional. There are probably a million ways of doing this, but this is my way. We will not be using After Effects today, just Photoshop and Premiere. Essentially what we're doing is grabbing a photo, and then in Photoshop we will be separating that photo into two elements, the subject and then the background. And then we're going to bring all of that into Premiere, and that's where we're going to be doing all of our movements, animations and stuff. Before we start, if we get 11 likes on this video, I'll text my mom a good night. And also a massive thank you to the sponsors of today's video, my Cougar. So you want to get your image onto Photoshop. This is my friend Ben. After completing his journey from England to Australia, it took him 12 months to cycle from UK to Australia. Still can't believe it. If you want to see my documentary about that, link down below. So what we want to do here now is trace around the subject with whatever tools you want. So I'm going to be using the magnetic lasso tool and just trace around him essentially. So now that you've got your selection, you want to select and mask and just make sure it's a clean cut, you know, because if the background is still attached to it, it's not going to work as effectively. But I'm pretty happy with that. So what we're going to do now is copy and paste the subject onto a new layer. So Command C, Command V. As you can see, we now have Ben, our subject, on a brand new layer by itself. So separated from the background, and we're just going to name these layers background and subject. We're going to hide our subject, so the only thing we have is our background layer. So what we're trying to do here now is trying to erase the subject from the background layer. Think of it like in Back to the Future, where Marty starts disappearing from his family photos because his parents don't end up together in this new timeline. That's what we're going to try to replicate without all the DeLorean, without having to go back to 1985. So I'm basically saving you time. And you know what time equals? Nothing, because time doesn't exist. It's just the government's way of keeping us in a box. Wake up, people! Sorry about that. I lash out sometimes. So on the background layer, we want to reselect the tracing of our subject. So we're going to go to select and then reselect. So here we got our selection again. So now we're going to expand our selection, and this way we're going to cover more of our subject, which is going to be very important shortly. We're going to go to select, modify, and then expand. We don't want to expand it too much. I'll say 5 will probably do. So once you've expanded your selection, and also making sure we're still on our background layer, go to edit, fill, and we want content aware fill, and these settings are alright, no need to play around with it, and then okay. So here is our new background. And I know it's looking a bit mad right now. So as you can see around here, it starts to get a bit sus. What we're going to do is we're going to touch up the edges, like these bits. So now we've traced around the little imperfections of the background. We're going to want to use the same fill tool again. So edit, fill, and then content aware. And then just wait for that to load. Okay, so that's a lot more clean. Here's a way of testing your technique out before you even drag it onto Premiere. Bring up your subjects, make it visible. Command T to transform the image, and then hold Option again so we're sizing in proportion. Yeah, that looks pretty clean. So again, we really want to separate the subject from the background. One way to enhance that is to add a Gaussian blur onto the background. Don't do anything unrealistic, just keep it simple. So this way the blur hides imperfections of the background. Okay, it's looking good. So we've got our background, and then we've got our subject. Now we're going to save each of these elements into a file of its own. We're going to hide the subject and then export this photo. This is very important. We want to make sure we export it as a PNG and not a JPEG. So we save the background. Now we want to save just the subject. And again, we want to make sure we're exporting in PNG. That way the background over here is transparent, whereas if it was JPEG it would be white. So we really want that transparency for everything really in life. So from here you want to import all of your elements onto Premiere, and then just drag it onto your timeline.
Fuck what they talking about on your timeline.
And then we got to make sure your subject is on the top layer. Now we're trying to get the subject to move forward as the background moves backwards. So what we want to do is on the start of the sequence is zoom in both the subject and the background, so that way we have leeway to zoom out, if that makes any sense. So to scale it, you want to make sure you toggle your animation on, and then from there just scale in how zoomed in you want it. So you should get something like this. I like how slow it's going, you don't want it to go too fast. So what we had here is the subject going forward as the background goes backwards. You can do it vice versa, so you can have the background going forwards while the subject is going back. Just play around with it really. If you're going to do a compilation, then having a mixture of movements will really emphasize the effect. You can even have it where the subject and the background are going at the same direction but different speeds, so it creates more of a subtle float, if you will. And the thing is, you now have the freedom to try out all these movements because you've already separated the photos into two elements, so that way you can really animate them going whichever way you want. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see the cycle documentary, again, links below. Tomorrow is a good day. I know I keep sounding like a Facebook post that your grandma sends you, but she's right.
Why you pouring me? I'm right.
Stay shining, no L's, just lessons, and until next time, ooh. Obviously, like, you're not gonna stay out there, innit? Cause like, sorry babe, it's the law. There's nothing I can do, I'm sorry.
You got a real mod, P-bod, buff bod, hot rod. Alright, say nothing.